The engine is off, the garage is dark, you have been sitting in the driver's seat for 20 minutes. The house is only 10 feet away, yet your heart is pounding like you're standing on the edge of a war zone. You are completely safe, but your body is preparing for an attack. Society calls this an anxiety disorder. They tell you to leave the past behind and practice positive thinking. That is a biological lie. The exhaustion you feel is not a weakness of character. It is a profound architectural mutation inside your skull. We are going to look directly at the physical blueprint of your brain. When you endure severe psychological stress, your nervous system does not just process emotions. It acts as a ruthless contractor. It actively demolishes the neural pathways of peace to build a high-security fortress designed to keep you alive. You are not broken. You are functioning exactly as a traumatized survival machine should. But this brilliant defense mechanism comes with a devastating structural cost. Let us look at the MRI scans and see exactly what was torn down to build your walls. Every self-help book, every podcast, every well-meaning friend has fed you the exact same toxic prescription for your pain. They tell you to just let it go, practice daily mindfulness, repeat empowering affirmations in the mirror, force a brave smile, forgive those who shattered you, and focus only on the positive future ahead. They sell you the illusion that trauma is merely a collection of sad memories. You can simply choose to erase with enough willpower and a grateful journal. They demand that you act completely normal, breathe deeply through the panic, and push through the suffocating exhaustion to maintain your social facade. Wrong. Forcing a traumatized brain to aggressively think positive is not a cure. It is a violent biological assault on your own nervous system. It is the physiological equivalent of ordering a blind, terrified warrior to swing a heavy sword wildly in a crowded, dark room. Your brain absolutely does not care about your forced morning affirmations. When you force a calm smile while your internal threat detection system is blaring a deafening alarm, you're not healing or moving on. You are actively triggering a devastating neurochemical civil war inside your skull. You are forcing your prefrontal cortex, the fragile logical command center of your brain, to brutally suppress the primal survival instincts of your limbic system. This psychological suppression does not make the stress magically evaporate into thin air. It violently compresses that unexpressed terror into a highly toxic, corrosive biological acid that silently floods your entire bloodstream. Every single time you swallow your rising panic just to appear socially acceptable at a dinner party or in a meeting, your body registers that suppression as a brand new, life-threatening attack. You're desperately trying to build a shiny, socially approved house of forced happiness on a rapidly sinking foundation of unresolved neurological terror. The billion-dollar wellness industry tells you that your constant inability to stay perfectly calm is a shameful weakness of willpower. They make you feel fundamentally broken and guilty because their superficial breathing exercises and positive vibes completely fail to stop your racing heart. But you are not defective, and your willpower is not weak. You are experiencing a brilliant, desperate physiological rebellion. Your so-called toxic reactions, the sudden flashes of blinding anger over misplaced keys, the unexplained terrifying numbness when someone tries to get close to you, the overwhelming urge to isolate yourself in a dark room, are not moral failings or character defects. They are a perfectly executed, highly advanced defensive protocol. Your biological machine is deliberately and forcibly shutting down your vulnerable social interfaces to prevent a catastrophic psychological stroke. You're not a bad person for snapping at your loved ones. You're a biological fortress that has run out of cooling fluid. The gurus lied to you because they only know how to address the polite conscious mind. But your conscious mind lost control of the steering wheel a very long time ago. We need to stop talking about your feelings and your past. We need to look under the microscope at the exact millisecond the chemicals hijacked your blood. Forget your feelings, forget your childhood theories. We are going to strip away the illusion of your free will right now. Look directly into the microscopic architecture of your traumatized brain. When you experience severe psychological terror, your body does not create a sad memory. It initiates a violent biochemical mutation. We are looking at the exact physical damage under an MRI scanner. The primary target is your hippocampus. This is the delicate seahorse-shaped gray matter responsible for processing logic, organizing coherent memories, and differentiating between a past threat and a present reality. When profound trauma occurs, your nervous system immediately floods your brain with a toxic, corrosive wave of cortisol. This is not a poetic metaphor about sadness. It is highly reactive biological acid. Chronic exposure to this stress hormone physically erodes the intricate neural pathways inside your hippocampus. It literally shrinks. It loses physical volume. Your logic center is structurally amputated by your own biology. But the internal war does not end there. Positioned right next to it is your amygdala, the primal, ancient threat detection radar of your brain. While your logic center is actively starving and shrinking, your amygdala absorbs that exact same traumatic energy and uses it as dark fuel to build thicker, much denser neural connections. It physically enlarges in size. It becomes a hyper-vigilant, steroid-fueled extremist guardian that is permanently locked in a state of absolute paranoia. Let us trace the exact, terrifying timeline of your next panic attack. 0 milliseconds, a door slams a little too loudly in the hallway. 12 milliseconds, your enlarged amygdala intercepts the acoustic sound wave, instantly and completely bypassing your fragile prefrontal cortex. 50 milliseconds. A massive, uncontrollable surge of adrenaline and cortisol is dumped directly into your bloodstream. The blood is forcefully drained from your digestive tract, your vision abruptly narrows, your heart rate violently spikes. 2 seconds. You're screaming, trembling, or completely freezing in place like a paralyzed prey animal. Your conscious mind did not authorize a single one of these actions. You did not use your free will to choose to be terrified. You are merely a helpless hostage, trapped inside a biological machine that has violently hijacked the steering wheel to save your life. Look at the undeniable physical evidence. You're not crazy, you're not weak, and you are absolutely not defective. You are exhibiting the flawless, brilliant mechanics of a brain that successfully adapted to a terrifying war zone. It deliberately sacrificed your capacity for daily peace in order to guarantee your long-term biological survival. This structural deformity is a breathtaking masterpiece of human evolution. You are functioning exactly as designed. But why did your genetic code choose this exact agonizing blueprint to keep you alive instead of something else? Why does a slammed door trigger a reaction meant for a charging predator? To answer that haunting question, we must abruptly abandon the sterile laboratory, shatter the comforting illusion of our modern civilization, and travel deeply back into the brutal, unforgiving historical era where your nervous system was actually forged. But why does your biology react to a slammed door as if it were a life or death threat? To understand this architectural deformity, we must abruptly rip the microscope away from your current blood vessels and violently pull the camera back across the vast timeline of human generations. You are convinced that your overwhelming anxiety is your own personal failure. You believe your inability to stay calm is a unique flaw in your character. That is the greatest lie of modern individualism. The panic surging through your veins right now does not belong to you. You did not create this hyper-vigilant nervous system from scratch. You inherited a battlefield. Let us examine the generational trauma that forcefully coded your brain to operate like a military radar. You were raised by a specific demographic of parents, the Boomer and Gen X generations, who survived their own eras through sheer emotional suppression and ironclad discipline. They were taught that vulnerability was a fatal weakness and that obedience was the only currency of survival. Therefore, they built homes that functioned like sterile, disciplined military barracks. Think back to the atmosphere of your childhood. The heavy, suffocating silence at the dinner table. The unspoken rule that anger was only permitted for the adults, while your own tears were immediately punished or dismissed with a cold command to toughen up. You were not allowed to be a fragile child. You were forcefully drafted into becoming a miniature adult, tasked with navigating the unpredictable emotional minefields of your parents. Your developing brain was not given a safe harbor to grow at a natural pace. Instead, it was violently forced to adapt to an environment where love felt highly conditional and safety could be revoked in a heartbeat. In order to survive that suffocating domestic landscape, your nervous system executed a brilliant but tragic evolutionary pivot. It permanently rewired its own architecture to become a hypersensitive threat detection machine. You learned to read the microscopic shifts in your mother's facial expressions before she even spoke. You learn to calculate the exact velocity and weight of your father's footsteps in the hallway to predict his mood. You memorize the precise acoustic resonance of a frustrated sigh. Your brain absorbed this environmental data and concluded that the world is a fundamentally dangerous place where you must constantly anticipate the next disaster just to stay alive. This is not a psychological metaphor. This is the brutal science of epigenetic inheritance. The chronic, unresolved terror of your ancestors was chemically transcribed into your DNA. You are not weak for being easily overwhelmed. You are carrying the unresolved emotional debt of an entire lineage on your shoulders. You are operating a nervous system that was designed to survive a war that happened decades before you were even born. Every time you freeze in panic today, you are actually witnessing the ghosts of the past, desperately trying to protect you from a threat that no longer exists. You have spent your entire adult life despising yourself for being broken without realizing that you are simply a flawless biological mirror reflecting the generational trauma of your family tree. You are entirely innocent. The historical context has completely absolved you, but knowing the historical origin of your pain does not magically stop the bleeding. Let us drop the heavy burden of history. Stop looking at the past. Bring your attention back to the quiet, empty room you're sitting in right now. Let us drop the heavy burden of history. Stop looking at the past and stop analyzing the microscopic chemistry of your brain. Bring your attention back to the quiet, empty room you're sitting in right now. Listen to the slow, steady, rhythmic rising and falling of your own chest. For years, you have treated your own body like a tragic crime scene, constantly searching for the exact moment you became defective. You have exhausted your spirit trying to meditate your way out of your own biology, desperately hoping to magically resurrect the carefree, innocent version of yourself that existed before the trauma. But you must understand that the innocent version of you was utterly unequipped to survive the brutal war you were forced to fight. Nature does not value innocence over survival. Your profound psychological breakdown was not an accident, nor was it a shameful failure of your moral character. It was a mandatory, agonizing physiological demolition. Before a towering fortress can be built, the fragile wooden house that stood there first must be violently torn down. The sudden panic attacks, the terrifying emotional numbness, the exhausting hypervigilance. These are not the tragic symptoms of a broken machine. They are the heavy raw materials of your new biological architecture. You are standing in the smoking ruins of your former self, weeping over the shattered glass, completely unaware that you have been meticulously upgraded into a masterpiece of human resilience. It is time to officially resign from the exhausting, impossible pursuit of flawless mental health. Perfection is a sterile, artificial illusion designed to sell you superficial solutions you do not actually need. A perfectly smooth, unblemished surface offers absolutely nothing for another human being to hold on to. It is only through your deep, jagged emotional fractures that genuine empathy, profound love, and true human connection can finally enter your system. Your scars are not liabilities. They are the sacred interfaces of your humanity. Your nervous system is a breathtaking canvas of survival, bearing the heavy, beautiful brushstrokes of every single battle you have ever fought and won. Every time your heart races for no apparent reason, it is simply your biology fiercely reminding you that it is willing to do absolutely anything to keep you breathing. You do not need to be fixed, because you were never fundamentally broken in the first place. You only need to be witnessed, understood, and finally given the unconditional permission to rest. Tonight, as you sit in the silence of your home, you have the absolute right to put down your heavy weapons. The invisible war is over. You survive the crossfire, but mere survival is a passive state, a rigid script written entirely by your genetic code. Now that the smoke has finally cleared and your biological fortress stands incredibly strong, a new, much heavier burden of choice emerges from the lingering silence. Who exactly is going to command this powerful, newly built fortress when the sun rises tomorrow morning? You have survived the storm. But this hard-earned peace is fragile, and it comes with a terrifying vulnerability. Tonight, you can finally rest. But what happens when you wake up tomorrow and try to move forward? This is where the ultimate biological betrayal occurs. You will set new goals. You will try to build a better life. And yet, 87% of you will inexplicably destroy your own progress. You will procrastinate. You will ruin good opportunities. You will think you're just lazy or unmotivated. That is a lie. Your traumatized brain, the exact same survival machine we just praised, has a hidden psychological bias. It is absolutely terrified of your success because success means entering unknown territory, and to a primitive nervous system, the unknown is always a lethal threat. It would rather keep you safely miserable than risk letting you be happily successful. You are standing at a critical crossroad right now. Will you let your biology continue to sabotage your future, or will you take back the steering wheel? Make your choice and declare it in the comments below. Write down whether you choose to remain a hostage or become the architect of your own mind. Your biology is already plotting against your next ambition. It is actively rewiring itself to make you fail. How exactly does this invisible sabotage work? And how do you hack this cognitive bias to finally achieve your resolutions? The architecture of your self-destruction is complex, but it can be dismantled. That dark secret and the exact neuroscience proof behind why your brain ruins your life is exactly what I will expose in the next video.